They did not speak his name aloud. Across 1,000 systems, among war councils and pirate dens, among queens and generals and gods pretending to be men, there was an unspoken rule: do not say his name unless you are ready for him to hear it. They called him other things instead. The Black Human. Voidborn. The Last Groundbreaker. The one who ends wars. And yet, when she heard his name for the first time, she trembled, not from fear, but from something far worse. Recognition. Beginning, a name that still hurt. The war room of the Elindrian Concord was carved from crystal older than most stars. Holograms hovered in the air, projecting the burning borders of the galaxy. Entire sectors flickered red. Commander Celira Ven, tactician of the Elindrian fleet, stood at the center with her hands clasped behind her back. Her people were tall, silver-skinned, and long-lived, descendants of a civilization that valued order above all else. They were losing. The human has resurfaced, one of the admirals said quietly. The room went still. Celira felt it before she heard it, the way the air seemed to tighten, the way even the AI cores dimmed their projections slightly, as if bracing. Which human? Someone asked, though they already knew. The admiral swallowed. Kale Rourke. Celira's breath caught. Her knees almost gave out. She turned away before anyone could see the fracture in her composure. Before they could see that the galaxy's most feared warrior was not a legend to her. He was a memory. Kale Rourke had once been just a man. Not a myth. Not a monster. Just a human engineer assigned to a joint Elindrian-Terran expedition on the frontier world Ilith Prime. That was where Celira had met him, back when she still believed wars could be prevented, back when humans were considered fragile but promising allies. Kale had grease on his hands and laughter in his voice. He fixed broken things. He stayed awake through the night repairing shield pylons while everyone else slept. And he looked at her like she was not a commander or a symbol, but a person. They had been young. They had been foolish. They had fallen in love. Middle, the making of a monster. The massacre at Ilith Prime changed everything. No one saw the fleet coming. No warning beacons. No demands. Just black ships tearing through orbit and glassing the surface with surgical cruelty. The enemy was unknown at the time, an extragalactic force later named the Carax Dominion. They slaughtered civilians first. Then soldiers. Then cities. Celira still remembered the screams over the comms. The way the sky burned violet. The way Kale grabbed her hand and pulled her into a collapsing transport tunnel as plasma fire rained down around them. They survived. Most didn't. The Concord withdrew. Protocol demanded it. The Dominion was too powerful, too advanced. Retreat was labeled strategic preservation. Kale called it abandonment. You're leaving them, he said, staring at the evacuation manifests. You're leaving millions. Celira had no answer that didn't sound like a lie. I don't make the decision, she said. But you follow it, he replied. The last thing she saw of him was his back as he disembarked from the evacuation cruiser, returning to the surface with a stolen rifle and a look in his eyes she had never seen before. She never said goodbye. The next time she heard his name, it was whispered in terror. Kale Rourke did not die on Ilith Prime. He learned. He scavenged weapons from the dead. He studied Carax tactics. He joined mercenary crews, pirate flotillas, rebel cells, anyone willing to fight. And where Kale went, the Dominion bled. He destroyed supply moons with Dura-rigged fusion charges. He boarded dreadnoughts alone. He lured entire armadas into gravity wells and left nothing but wreckage and ghosts. Human command disavowed him. The Concord condemned him. The Dominion put a bounty on his head so high it destabilized black markets. It didn't matter. He couldn't be stopped. The galaxy began to change its strategies around him. Entire invasions were delayed if reports suggested the black human was nearby. Alien warriors who had never known fear began to whisper prayers when sensors flickered. And somewhere deep in Elindrian space, Celira watched the casualty numbers rise and knew she had helped create him. Escalation, when legends collide. Years later, the Concord had no choice. The Dominion was pushing toward the core worlds. Fleet losses were catastrophic. Entire civilizations had fallen. They needed a miracle. They needed Kale Rourke. Celira was sent to find him. Her ship tracked him to a dead system near the galactic rim. No stars. No planets. Just the wreckage of a recent battle, Dominion hulls torn open like carcasses. Kale's ship drifted at the center. Small. Scarred. Alive? When she boarded it, weapons trained and heart pounding, she almost didn't recognize him. His hair was streaked with gray. His face bore scars that told stories no one wanted to hear. His eyes, once warm, once curious, were cold and infinitely tired. He knew her instantly. "Commander Ven," he said. "Or should I say High Strategist now?" "Kale," she whispered. He laughed once, bitter and sharp. "Don't say it like that." They sat across from each other in the dim glow of emergency lights, two ghosts bound by history. "You've come to ask me to fight for you," he said. "For the Concord. For the same alliance that ran." "We were wrong," Celira said. "I was wrong." He leaned forward, voice low. "How many worlds burned before you decided that?" She had no answer. So she told him the truth instead. "I never stopped thinking about you," she said. "Not a day. I watched what you became and wondered if I could have stopped it." Kale stood. "You could have," he said quietly. "You chose not to." The breaking point. The Dominion attacked before negotiations ended. A massive fleet jumped into the system, drawn by Kale's presence like moths to a flame. There was no time left. Kale turned to Celira, eyes blazing with the fire of 1,000 lost battles. "I'll fight," he said. "Not for the Concord. Not for humans. For the people who never got to leave." The battle that followed would be studied for centuries. Kale coordinated fleets with brutal precision, predicting Dominion movements before they happened. He used himself as bait, drawing fire, leading enemy flagships into traps only he dared to set. Celira commanded beside him, their old rhythm returning like muscle memory. They were unstoppable together. Until Kale made his final decision. The Dominion's core ship, a planet killer, was charging its weapon. There was no stopping it. Not in time. Except one way. Kale rerouted his ship straight into its core. A suicide run. "No," Celira screamed over the comms. "You don't get to do this alone. Someone has to end it," he replied. "I've been ending things my whole life." "You're not a weapon," she said, voice breaking. "You're a person." He smiled sadly. "I stopped being that a long time ago." Then, softly, "I loved you." The transmission cut. Ending, the cost of survival. The explosion tore the Dominion fleet apart. The war ended that day. The galaxy survived. Kale Rourke did not. They built statues. They wrote songs. They turned him into a legend safe enough to remember. Celira stood alone at the edge of the memorial spire, staring into the stars where he vanished. To the galaxy, he was the warrior who terrified all who opposed him. To her, he was the man who fixed broken machines, who laughed at bad jokes, who stayed behind when everyone else fled. She carried the weight of that choice for the rest of her long life. Some victories, she learned too late, cost more than defeat ever could. And every time she heard his name spoken in awe or fear, her heart broke all over again. Because the galaxy remembered him as a monster. But she remembered him as Kale. And that hurt far more.